We begin the news in West Africa, where the Nigerian Senate has launched a comprehensive investigation into the utilization of the 30 trillion naira CBN loans during the tenure of former President Muhammadu Buhari, raising questions about financial transparency and accountability. Now, this decision comes amidst growing concerns over the alleged mismanagement of funds obtained from the CBN under the leadership of the former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, with accusations of reckless spending worsening the country's ongoing food and security crises. The Senate on Tuesday announced that formation of an ad hoc committee tasked with unraveling the details surrounding the 30 trillion naira overdraft, including an examination of how these funds were spent during the previous administration. The committee's scope also includes an investigation into the allocation of 10 trillion naira towards the anchor borrowers scheme, as well as scrutiny of a $2.4 billion forex transaction from a larger $7 billion fund designated for specific purposes. In the meantime, the Senate has accused governors of the nation's federating states of not doing enough to reduce the hardship being faced by citizens. Now, this was as the Senate debated on the current economic situation in the country and resolved to investigate disbursements and loans by previous administrations amounting to almost 30 trillion naira. Amadin Uyi reports. I will bring you that report subsequently. Now, moving ahead, the Nigerian Parliament says it is committed to improving the capacity of lawmakers in their quest to fulfill their constitutional responsibilities. The Speaker of the House of Representatives made this known in Abuja during the presentation of a needs assessment study to development partners as he expressed worry over the high rate of new entrants into Parliament. Idong Joseph has the report.
According to available data, the high turnover rate of new lawmakers at Nigeria's National Assembly since 2007 has continued to pose a major concern when forming a correlation between years of service, experience, and capacity. This underscores the urgent need for training to help them navigate the complexity of a modern legislative work. Nigeria's House of Representatives, with support from the United Nations Development Programme, says it has come up with an effective strategy to help address this challenge.
The intricate landscape of modern governance demands a higher level of expertise, higher levels of analytical skills and adaptability among our members and supporting staff. The UNDP's capacity and institutional needs assessment study has laid bare the gaps in our current system.
Presenting a guideline of engagement with development partners for the next 4 years, the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that the House is committed to available resources needed to build the capacity of members of parliament and their legislative aides in need. Some of the development partners present lauded the initiative, saying they will continue to engage with members of parliament involved to support them in their business of lawmaking.
I would like to emphasize that UNDP, as the global lead development agency with a mandate on governance and support to parliamentary institutions, will continue to support the legislative agenda and the government of Nigeria to fulfill their obligations to the citizens.
We need to be clear that we need to make monitoring of the legislative agenda and monitoring the implementation a priority.
Anybody, any partner that is sealing the dummy of things that are not consistent with the national interest, I think, please, I plead with you not to really give that.
The capacity needs assessment seeks to bridge the gap identified in Nigeria's parliament, occasioned by the entry of new lawmakers into the parliament. It is hoped that this will improve lawmaking, oversight, and strengthen members of parliament's capacity to engage with citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Thank you, Idong Joseph, for that report. Now we go back to the story of Nigerian economic crisis, where the Senate has actually accused state governors of not doing enough for its citizens. Take a look.
The session on the floor of the Senate reviewed the ongoing situation in the country, especially in relation to the hardship being faced by citizens. While the Senate admitted there's a need for urgent intervention, the President of the Senate says that the ongoing hunger protests by citizens are unfortunately sponsored.
You can see a lot of sponsored protests here and there, but those people are not aware. Most of those sponsored protests are not aware of the kind of efforts being made by the Senate to tackle the situation, together with the joint management team of the federal government of Nigeria.
Lawmakers expressed disappointment at the conduct of state governors, saying they have not been starved of funds, but have performed poorly.
Each state government in 2023 was given 18 billion naira. At once, some of the governors that benefited from that 18 billion naira are here.
I must say that unverified report has it that each of the state governments in the last few months have received additional 30 billion from the Federal Inland Revenue Service outside their normal allocations, from the Federation account, outside their normal allocations.
What Nigerians want today is food and security. This belongs to the medium-term or long-term action that we need to take.
Others called for investigation of previous administrations to give account of monies expended, running into trillions, expected to improve the lives of citizens.
We said that the other monies that has been spent cumulatively to, was it 20-something trillion? That the details should be provided. It has never been provided to date.
About 20-something trillion. They knew nothing about it. They didn't know how the money was spent, what it was spent on.
The Senate resolved to set up a special investigative committee to investigate disbursements by the previous administrations amounting to over 30 trillion naira. This includes the controversial Ways and Means loans from the nation's apex bank and other interventions. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Now to security matters. A bill seeking to amend Nigeria's constitution to legitimize the establishment of state police in the country has passed a second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, sponsored by the Deputy Speaker of the House and 14 other members of Parliament, is expected to empower state governments to establish their own dedicated police agencies in order to tackle the escalating insecurity crisis in the country. Idong Joseph has the report.
The call for state police seems to have gained attention in recent times, not only among lawmakers, but it seems the executive is also buying into the idea.
To provide for the establishment of state police.
Leading the debate for the bill which seeks to alter the nation's constitution and make provisions for the establishment of state police in the country, lawmakers say the bill will empower states to establish state police so as to be able to tackle the insecurity challenges in their states.
We have the likes of Amotekun, we have Neighborhood Watch, we have Ebubeagu in the southeast. What we're trying to do and what this bill seeks to do is to streamline those activities.
The bill comprises of 18 clauses that seeks to alter Section 34, 35, 39, 42, 84, 89, and 129 among other sections of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. The proposal for the establishment of state police was supported by many lawmakers, as they said this will help address the current insecurity challenges being witnessed. However, there are some who expressed concern, especially in the ability of state governments to fund the venture in the light of current economic challenges.
It gives impetus to the communities. You are so conscious that you have security. What we are talking about now is the legal support.
May be different from what is happening in Abia, may be different from what is happening in Kano, and the way to control it also will be different. So I believe we are in need of their need.
Many states are insolvent, unable to pay their salaries and other obligations. State police is not the right way to go. Can the members of other political parties have justice in a job?
The answer is no. So while I'm supporting this bill, I want us to look inward.
It will be recalled that the bill calling for the amendment of the Constitution to legalize state police in the country has been rejected by previous administrations. While there have been fears that they will be used by political class to oppress political opponents, lawmakers are saying that with less than 400,000 police officers in the employment of the federal government, providing security for over 200 million citizens is a tall order. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Now moving on to other national matters, tanker drivers in Nigeria have been directed to resume operations following a crucial meeting involving key stakeholders and government officials after a 2-day withdrawal of service. The decision to resume operations comes after discussions between the federal government, Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners representatives, and other industry stakeholders addressing concerns over the high cost of diesel needed to fuel their trucks for transporting petroleum products across the nation. Among those present at the meeting were the National President of NATO, Yusuf Lawal Othman, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lokbobiri, and officials from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, as well as representatives from major energy marketers and Independent Petroleum Marketers Association. In a related development, the Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria has threatened to withdraw its services across the country from the 1st of March if the government does not quickly address the high interest rate charged by banks, as they might not be able to pay back their loans. This was made known by the national president of the union in the nation's capital, Abuja, as he urged government to come up with a specific foreign exchange rate to ease the hardship being faced. The Amalgamated Union of App-Based Drivers in Nigeria have called for a more friendly regulatory framework that will take care of the welfare of their members. The union made this known in Abuja during a stakeholders meeting in the nation's capital. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
A strategic stakeholders meeting for members of the Amalgamated Union of App-Based Drivers in Nigeria based in Abuja. They are calling for a regulatory framework that will take care of drivers, putting health insurance, pension, vehicle insurance, amongst others, which will also improve their living conditions.
We cannot succeed in this industry without considering the welfare of the drivers. So that's why we're here today, to reach a collective agreement that would lay down national guidelines that will address health and safety and welfare issues in the industry that affect the drivers.
It looks at the area of proper channel of communication for workers to prevent the activation and dismissals. It looks at the area of, deliberation on state taxes, in terms of dialoguing with state regulators to prevent the harassment of our workers.
Their vehicles are their offices, and when they have issues with those vehicles, they don't get to, earn, as it were. So one of the things Coronation is doing is collaborating with them, making how to get comprehensive insurance easy for them.
We're looking at a legal framework, legislative framework, whatever it is, that would help to foster the welfare of drivers under this union, and then work together with the in-app companies to develop such a guideline.
They say the current public transportation system in the country is not enough to cater for citizens, thus making their services key to helping citizens. They are also calling on government to improve the sector by putting the right policies in place.
The current public transport system cannot cater effectively for our population. We have over 200 million people, and just a few number of transporters that are at the public sector, or even the private taxi operators that were not on ride-hailing or e-hailing apps. So definitely Nigeria is very ripe for this form of transportation, this e-hailing transport. The fuel subsidy removal has led to a 30% reduction in the number of vehicles that we even see on the road, because many drivers can't even afford to fuel their vehicles and still make a profit at the end of the day.
The stakeholders will be hoping that the government will pay close attention to events in the transportation sector. This, they believe, can make the sector thrive. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obonman.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Nigerian government, in collaboration with cement manufacturers like Boa, Dangote and Lafarge, have established a price range of 7,000 to 8,000 naira for a 50 kilogram of bag of cement nationwide. Now, following a surge in cement prices to approximately 10,000 to 15,000 nationwide, Perpetua Fasomi Peter interviewed stakeholders in the cement industry to investigate the reasons behind the increase, its effects, and their operations, and their responses to the revised price range.
Like many commodities in Africa's largest economy, the price of cement has risen astronomically and now sells between 10,000 naira and 15,000 naira across the country, depending on location. I'll be speaking to as many Nigerians within the cement value chain to get to know what this is all about and what their thoughts are about this.
What they keep telling us is, and Dangote is not accepting payment. The portal for payment is being closed. So the little they have is what they are selling. So they sell at the price they want.
The product is not available, and the little that's available is what people increasing the price.
At least, if there is a situation where government can help the masses, I mean, people that they are buying all this product, everywhere the prices are. It's not only cement, both both iron rod, food stuff in the markets, everything is going high, and mostly, even the rich people, they can't avoid it again. A lot of sites have already closed down because of the price increments.
I spoke to another stakeholder within the value chain to establish the cause of the continuous hike in cement prices and maybe prefer solutions.
If the price board is functional and the price control board I meant, and the government continually dialogue with cement manufacturing industry without favoring any one of them against the other, unlike what we experienced in the last time, where Dangote is favored against all other manufacturers.
For Lawal Olanrewaju, the federal government's agreement with cement producers to reduce the price of the product to about 7,000 and 8,000 naira is uninspiring.
When government have failed, they failed. There's no two ways about it. And when the cement price is going astronomically, then it's going to affect a lot of other factors. And it's going to affect every player in the industry. So sincerely speaking, they've not been justified, and there's no justification for them to put the price between, even be that as it may, between 6 and 7 or 8 regime. Is not realistic. It's not fair on the larger society.
While several factors have been identified as reasons for the hike in cement prices, many Nigerians remain unsatisfied, see the increase as arbitrary, and continue to ask the same question: how do cement producers come about these prices? In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
Experts in the academia are advocating for increased investment in cultural sustainability to help rebuild communities affected by insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. This was during the 3rd International Conference on Cultural Sustainability, organized by the Center for the Study and Promotion of Cultural Sustainability at the University of Maiduguri, Borno State. Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The rate at which the culture and tradition of most African societies are becoming extinct is said to be increasing. Experts are calling on government officials and policymakers to prioritize cultural preservation in their reconstruction efforts, particularly in Nigeria's northeast, ravaged by insurgency. This is said to play a crucial role in healing the social fabric of communities and promoting resilience in the face of future challenges.
The children that are born now in camps,
they never experienced what used to be before. So if we can actually put it through creative storytelling, they will actually know what used to be.
Even if you are depressed with the insurgency, you are so sad, the culture has a way of, bringing peace through the attire, through the dance, through the music. The culture is beautiful.
As we make progress, we modernize, we transform our societies, but we retain the essences of those practices that are handed down to us by our ancestors, and then we try to pass them on to the future.
During the conference, experts emphasized that preserving and promoting the rich cultural heritage of the region is essential for fostering a sense of identity and belonging among its people.
The biannual conferences organized by the Center are in line with its mandate of promoting cultural sustainability studies as conceived by the 2016 MOU with the partner universities in Germany and Ghana.
The biannual conferences organized by the Center are part of the activities aimed at promoting cultural studies and cultural sustainability in relation to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
The 25-year development plan of His Excellency and the 10-year strategic transformation initiatives put culture at the core of the restoration project of Borno State.
Preserving our culture must have to be our responsibilities as scholars, as community leaders, and as a people.
They said increased investment in initiatives that safeguard, revive, and celebrate cultural traditions, languages, arts, and crafts will serve as a means to empower communities to rebuild their lives. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umoru Kirawa.
The adoption of digital learning tools has become widespread in most Nigerian schools, offering a promising avenue to enhance education for learners. However, the accessibility of e-learning resources poses challenges, particularly in public schools, highlighting significant disparities in education across the country. Education technology experts emphasize the importance of government collaboration with the private sector to ensure all students across the country benefit from digital learning regardless of their socioeconomic status. Amalola Ololade tells us more.
Gone are the days of library visit to photocopy a few pages from an encyclopedia for a school project. With technology at their fingertips these days, school children now live in a world where education has changed and the internet has become their primary source of information. While the primary source of employing education technology in schools is to enhance student overall learning experience, there are also challenges such as the digital divide and limited access to technology for many students, which must be addressed to ensure that the benefit of technology in education are felt by all.
In a school, teacher comes to class, goes to the lesson, starts a topic. At the end of 31 hours, the teacher is out, regardless of if all the students understand or not. And it's not their fault also. There's a time frame to this. You have to complete the syllabus by the end of the term. So this does not put into account students that might be slow or that might not be so bright. But with U-Lesson, each student can learn at their own pace.
EdTech experts therefore emphasize the importance of collaborating with the private sector by the government in providing the necessary tools to aid learning for all students.
We also need to make sure that we can provide, that access and the tools like laptops, computers, iPads to children, to people all across the country, not just in Lagos, but everywhere in the country. So, government alone will not do it. I am a big proponent that we have to see a combination of both government providing the enabling environment, private sector, wealthy individuals providing the support and ensuring that we can get a lot more things.
Nigerian teachers say mobile applications or digital classrooms cannot replace physical classrooms. Rather, it will make education accessible to all.
Let's believe that a child can learn beyond the classroom. I don't have the means to afford uniform, to afford textbooks, to transport my child, to fuel my vehicle from one T to the other, to put my child in a school, but my child can learn at home. So I would say we should start looking towards digital learning for all.
The evolution of technology in education and the learning experience of students is a step in the right direction. Hence, the need for a technology-driven educational system cannot be overemphasized. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
As the global community commemorates the 2024 International Mother Language Day, stakeholders are stressing the need to preserve native languages across Nigeria, especially in urban cities, to promote inclusion and facilitate effective learning. The 2024 theme is multilingual education, a pillar of learning and intergenerational learning. First declared by UNESCO in November 1999, the day has been observed globally since February 21, 2000 to underscore the role of languages in promoting inclusion and achieving sustainable development goals. The day highlights how multilingual education policies are crucial for inclusive education and preservation of indigenous languages. Now, according to the UN, 40% of the global population lacks access to education in their native language. Nigeria, with its multilingual language intertwined with dialects, is faced with a similar situation. The Minister of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory has flagged off the construction of a 5-kilometer Naharati-Angwang Hausawa road project in the Abuja Area Council of Abuja. The minister said the road will help tackle insecurity in the area and assured residents that the project will be completed this year. Amading Uyi reports.
The flagging off ceremony was widely attended by residents of the Abuja Area Council. Several key political and traditional leaders were also in attendance.
The Naharati-Angwang Hausawa route was deliberate choosing because of the connectivity. When completed, it will decongest the bypass, improving access to market, school, healthcare facilities, and other essential services for rural communities.
Today is the flag off of construction of a 5-kilometer Naharati River, Ukua Angwa, Hausawa Road, 3-span river bridge in Abuja area. Scope of works consists of construction of 5-kilometer asphaltic concrete finished road on 8-meter carriageway, which includes site clearance and earthworks, reinforced concrete pipe and bus covers of various sizes, reinforced concrete transporter and U-channel line drains.
The Minister of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, assured residents that the project, when completed, will help tackle insecurity in the area and solve logistics challenges affecting farmers.
If you don't have good roads, can you fight insecurity? So one of the ways to fight insecurity is to provide good roads so security agencies will have access to go and deal with those people who say they are criminals. If you don't have good road, can you go to the farm? So provision of good road will help to improve our food security.
He also assured residents of the community that the project will be completed on time.
All these projects we are flagging up, no one will get to next year. Oh, we'll be finished this year. Because we must have to let the people have that confidence in government. If people do not have confidence in government, it's a problem.
He called for their support for the current administration, urging them to be patient with President Bola Tinubu as he tackles several challenges affecting the nation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Now to health matters. Stakeholders in the medical sector have praised President Bola Tinubu's move to renovate and upgrade health infrastructure across hospitals nationwide. They're asking the president to also immediately address other bottlenecks affecting the performance of the sector. Adeshewa Odushoga reports.
For many years, there have been clamors for government intervention in Nigeria's health sector, which is suffering from multiple challenges. This includes infrastructural challenge, remuneration of medical personnel, quality healthcare, amongst others.
Budgetary allocation for healthcare is still very, very minimal, because we have, the Abuja 2001 declaration of making the budget for health 15% is not still there in this country, about 7% every year. So if the government can increase the allocation for healthcare, it will improve access to funding. The baseline for healthcare in this country should be primary healthcare. When everybody has access to primary healthcare, it gives less burden to the general hospitals, less burden to the tertiary institution. It makes everybody knows that there's a proper referral system.
In what many have termed as the first and major positive news coming from Nigeria since the recent administration came into power, President Bola Tinubu approved an immediate upgrade of key health infrastructure and equipment spanning all 6 geopolitical zones nationwide. The president said this aligns with his commitment to revamp the health and social welfare sector for improved service delivery nationwide.
For a while now, there's been so much medical tourism happening in the country where people have to even travel to London and other places just for simple things like bone marrow transplant and all that. So this upgrade, albeit political, I think it's also in the right step at the right time, because this is a time where emotions are high.
These critical projects, slated for completion within 12 to 18 months, aim to enhance screening and diagnostics for both communicable and non-communicable diseases, reduce mortality rate, create significant employment opportunities, and advance the capacity of clinical personnel across Nigeria's geopolitical zones.
It's either you empower local manufacturers, pharmacists, to be able to produce the same drugs locally, empower research, some of the teaching hospitals to also begin to produce drugs, because you can't expect importation of drugs and at local prices.
While this move will record a great feat for the healthcare sector, there are still calls for more intervention, such as favorable working conditions for medical personnel, review of salaries and allowances, checks on the brain drain, amongst others. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
News Central now continues in the west of the continent, where Senegal's Constitutional Council has released an updated list of presidential candidates, maintaining the status quo and effectively closing the door on calls to revisit the pre-election process. The revised list, now comprising 19 names, sees only one change, with candidate Rose Wardini withdrawing from the race. This decision comes amid heightened tensions following the postponement of the presidential poll initially slated for February 25th. President Macky Sall's announcement of the delay just before the start of campaigning triggered a political crisis, prompting Parliament to push for the postponement until mid-December. However, the Constitutional Council recently overturned this decision, urging authorities to conduct the election at the earliest opportunity. President Sall has pledged to adhere to the Council's ruling and expedite preparations for the vote. Now in Central Africa, Amnesty International has issued a plea for an immediate cessation of deliberate and indiscriminate attacks on civilians amidst escalating violence between government forces and M23 rebels in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. According to Amnesty, the resumption of intense fighting around the city of Goma has resulted in the deaths of at least 35 civilians, with thousands more trapped in the crossfire and in desperate need of humanitarian aid. The conflict, fueled by allegations of support from Rwanda to the rebels, has led to a humanitarian crisis, with over 1 million people displaced in and around Goma. The use of heavy artillery and mortar shells targeting civilian areas has drawn condemnation from civilians or organizations like the Center for Civilians in Conflict, while France and the United States have urged Rwanda to end its support for the M23 rebels. Let's also tell you that South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced the date for the upcoming general elections as the nation gears up for a pivotal moment in its democratic history. President Ramaphosa on Tuesday declared that South Africans will head to the polls on May 29 to elect a new parliament and ultimately choose their next leader. The election is poised to be historic, with polls indicating a significant challenge for Ramaphosa's ANC party, which has dominated South African politics since the end of apartheid. Ramaphosa's ANC faces mounting criticism over issues such as violent crime, economic stagnation, power cuts, and unemployment, leading to a heightened sense of uncertainty and competition in the political landscape. The percentage of unemployment in South Africa is expected to stay persistently high if the economy continues to develop at less than 3%, as the official unemployment rate crept back above 32% in the last 3 months of 2023, following 2 straight quarters of reduction when half of industries lost jobs. Statistics South Africa on Tuesday stated yesterday that the unemployment rate increased marginally by 0.2 percentage point to 32.1% in the fourth quarter of 2023, up from a one-year low of 31.9% in the third quarter. According to Stats SA's quarterly labor force survey, the number of unemployed rose by 46,000 to 7.9 million. The crisis in job creation in South Africa becomes more obvious when viewed over a 10-year period, as the number of unemployed individuals increased from 4.8 million in the fourth quarter of 2013 to 7.9 million in the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, joining me to discuss this unemployment crisis in the Rainbow Nation is ATM Chief of Staff in Parliament, Mpolisi Makubu. Hello, Mpolisi. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Greetings, and thank you so very much for having us.
All right, so can you give us an overview of the trends highlighted in the latest Stats SA report on the rise in unemployment and other economic challenges in South Africa? And also, if you could tell us, some of those factors that's contributing to this rise.
Central to what is of concern to us as the African Transformation Movement is the fact that we have found ourselves in an economic stagnant market as South Africa, where we are unable to actually effectively create jobs that are going to yield, economic stability in this country. And yet, in the very same instance, we are assured by the President, Mr. Ramaphosa, that jobs have been created in South Africa and that we are heading towards stability. Yet, you actually look at it, I see the statistics that you have, put up in this banner. It says that it's 32.1% increase in the unemployment rate. But you look at the youth unemployment rate, that is now your people aged between 18 and 35. It is sitting at a 41.1%, meaning that there's effectively about 11.7 million young people in South Africa who are unplugged from any economic activity of any kind. And we see this, unfortunately, as a factor that is contributing to the lack of political will as far as the South African space is concerned in converting the current space that we're in, so that we are able to actually build economic reforms that are going to inform economic stability. You look at the closure of businesses. You look at it, because of the load shedding effects that have been so exacerbated in South Africa, small businesses have had to effectively shut their operations. Businesses have effectively had to retrench people in South Africa. So it's because of the many issues that we are facing in governance, from your corruption to maladministration, which the ANC government is not willing to sort out and solve. That is why we find ourselves here. And it is because of that you'll see that investor confidence in South Africa is also dwindling. Many multinational corporations are threatening to actually pull out of the economy. And that is significantly going to ensure that we are having less and less people being employed in South Africa. In actual fact, we are going to face even more retrenchments.
Okay. Now, some of the factors you did mention are an increase in employment rate, that's about 32%, and also, a closure of businesses leading to loss of jobs. Now, how does the current economic situation in South Africa compare to previous years? That's based on the data presented in this report.
Prior this report being released by the Statistics South Africa company, we released a scathing infographic that showed the landscape between 2019 and 2024. And you will remember that President Ramaphosa effectively took office in 2019 as an actual president, not taking over from the previous resignation from the former president. So his actual term started in 2019. And you look at the food basket price. In 2019, it was sitting at 3,065 rands 28 cents. Now it is sitting at 5,297.58 cents. So effectively, we are saying that to be able to live and to survive in South Africa, you need at least 5,000 to just fill a basket. And you will understand that the poverty rates in South Africa are so high. So it means that not everybody in South Africa can be able to afford this 5,000 rands for a basket. That is going to last you not less than a week, by the way, because there are so many other economic factors that we need to take into consideration. Because you look at the actual lived reality of South Africans, many homes are headed by children. And the grant that is being given by the government, which is the 350 rands, which started in COVID as a relief fund, is not necessarily a solution to all of the problems that we are facing as South Africans. And we have always said that South Africans are resilient people that are able to be self-sufficient. If the environment gives way enough for investor confidence to rise, then we can be able to convert whatever opportunities that we find in the space to be economically balanced. But over and above that, you look at the minerals that are being converted, that are being extracted in South Africa. None of those economic strongholds of South Africa are converted in South Africa. As a matter of fact, they are taken away and they are converted somewhere else and then imported back into the country. Why can we not stabilize youth employment by creating employment that is based on the economic strongholds of this country, meaning that the conversion of all of these minerals that are extracted in South Africa must be done in South Africa. And we must be able to ensure that we open up factories, we start a farming revolution, because you look at South Africa as it stands right now, there's absolutely no factories in the specific places such as your Kwakwa, such as your Butterworth, such as your Botshabelo, that used to have factories of manufacturing. Those factories must be opened up, and all of these companies that come into South Africa must be compelled to procure specifically from local companies. 80% minimum procurement margins must be set, so that we know that the employment rates within specific communities as a result of these cooperatives that are going to be created in the form of factories can be able to assist us in curbing the unemployment rate.
All right. We do hope that, unemployment rate is actually, looked into, and something is actually being done about it as soon as possible. But thank you so much, Mpolisi, for joining me on the news and discussing this.
Thank you very much for having us, and greetings to all of the people of Nigeria.
Thank you. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigerian Senate probes 30 trillion naira CBN loans under the Buhari administration. We also told you that Senegal's Constitutional Council confirms presidential candidate list. And finally, you heard that Amnesty International calls for end to attacks on civilians in the DR Congo. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.